Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into the life of one of history's most captivating and controversial figures, Virginia Oldowini, better known as the Countess of Castiglione. A woman of beauty, scandal, and intrigue, she redefined what it meant to be a public figure long before the era of celebrity. Her story includes royal affairs, daring photo shoots, and an obsession with her own image that would put today's influencers to shame. So, stay with us as we reveal the secrets, heartbreaks, and ultimate legacy of this self-made icon. When the Countess of Castiglione's ex tried to gain custody of their son, she sent him a seemingly simple gift in the mail, a photograph of herself. However, when he examined it closely, his blood ran cold. Virginia Oldowini, known in history as the Countess of Castiglione, was notorious for her madness, danger, and allure. This Italian aristocrat, whose stunning beauty and daring photographic exploits earned her the title of the world's first model, is not remembered only for her physical appearance. Her legendary affairs and tragic fall make her a historical figure who remains fascinating to this day. Born on March 22, 1837, the Countess entered a life of luxury and privilege as the daughter of Tuscan nobility. Her full name was Virginia Elisabetta Luisa Carlotta Antonietta Teresa Maria Oldowini Rapalini, a name so long and grandiose that her parents affectionately shortened it to Nicchia. From the start, her name alone signified the lofty expectations her parents held for her, expectations that would ultimately ruin her life. As Virginia grew, it was obvious to everyone who met her that she was destined to turn heads. With long, wavy blonde hair, a finely sculpted face, and a figure that became legendary, her beauty was undeniable. Most of all, her eyes set her apart. According to accounts from that time, her eyes could change from green to a radiant blue-violet, adding an almost supernatural allure. By her teenage years, Virginia had already become the center of male attention, a situation her parents disturbingly encouraged and exploited. When she was only 17, they wasted no time in marrying her off to Francesco Verassis, the Count of Castiglione. Though marriage to the Count gave Virginia the title we recognize today, it offered her little else. Her husband, Francesco Verassis, was 12 years her senior and hardly appealing to her tastes. Not one to submit quietly to an arranged marriage, Virginia had enjoyed a passionate fling with a handsome naval officer shortly before her wedding, a clear sign that this soon-to-be infamous beauty was interested in much more than just settling down. Virginia's connections, however, were valuable from the start. In addition to her husband's noble standing, her own family boasted an impressive lineage. Her cousin, Camillo Benso, even served as a minister to the King of Sardinia. A politically savvy man, Camillo saw Virginia's charms as a strategic asset, so one day he approached her with a bold and controversial plan. Camillo was currently working to gain the support of French Emperor Napoleon III for Italian unification, and he knew his cousin's mesmerizing effect on men might help sway the emperor. He urged Virginia to travel to France and persuade Napoleon to support their cause. But Camillo's plan didn't stop at diplomacy. His instructions were quite clear. He expected Virginia to succeed by any means necessary. Virginia's role was more than just that of a spy. She was in essence a honeypot, and her target couldn't have been better suited to the role. Napoleon III was notorious for his weakness for beautiful women, while his wife, Empress Eugénie, a devout and conservative woman, had long since grown disgusted with his affairs, even refusing to share his bed. The stage was set for the Countess of Castiglione to make her entrance and work her charms on the emperor himself. Though Virginia was still a teenager, she eagerly seized the opportunity to escape her monotonous life by going to Paris. However, there was a major complication. Her husband, Count Francesco, went with her. It's no secret that a middle-aged spouse can put a damper on one's social freedom, and Virginia's case was no exception. Things quickly took an unexpected turn, though, when Emperor Napoleon welcomed the Countess to his court without issue, despite her being married. Almost immediately upon her arrival in Paris, Virginia's affair with Napoleon became widely known, and she didn't exactly make an effort to keep it discreet. While infidelity ranks high on the list of marital betrayals, Virginia's transgressions didn't end there. Aside from her very public involvement with Napoleon, she also drained Francesco's wealth with her extravagant lifestyle. Count Francesco, initially indifferent to Virginia's flirtations and ambitions, grew increasingly humiliated by her openly provocative behavior at the French court. As whispers of her affair with Napoleon III spread and the family's finances dwindled due to her lavish spending, Francesco's tolerance reached its limit. Viewing her actions as a disgrace to his family name, he became more vocal in his disapproval, demanding that she moderate her lifestyle for the sake of their son, Giorgio. Tensions escalated into heated arguments, with Francesco insisting that Virginia's actions not only jeopardized their reputation but also his right to custody over Giorgio. At the French court, however, her allure was captivating, and she was soon the center of attention. Admirers lauded her as a miraculous beauty, dubbing her the Lavinia Contessa, a comparison to a literal goddess that signified her rise to it-girl status. Yet, not everyone was enchanted by Virginia's charms. Public opinion on Virginia was as divided as the French court itself. Many admired her as an enigmatic beauty, praising her daring fashion and magnetic charm, while others viewed her as scandalous and excessive. Her bold displays and unabashed self-confidence, although captivating to some, struck others as arrogant and unbecoming of a woman in her position. Her provocative presence at court sparked gossip among nobles and commoners alike, with some labeling her as a cultural icon ahead of her time, while others criticized her behavior as reckless and damaging to her family's reputation. Despite these mixed views, her ability to capture the public's fascination was undeniable. The Countess of Castiglione found no ally in Empress Eugénie, Napoleon's wife. In nearly every way, they were polar opposites. Virginia was liberal, vivacious, and bold, while Eugénie was serious, principled, and deeply committed to her country. Empress Eugénie, born Eugénie de Montijo, was the wife of Napoleon III and served as the last empress of France. Known for her elegance and strong moral convictions, Eugénie was deeply religious and held conservative values, which often placed her in contrast with the more progressive figures at court. She was a steadfast supporter of traditional French customs and a dedicated patron of the arts. Yet her commitment to her principles sometimes made her appear distant and unapproachable. Eugénie's devotion to her role as empress was matched only by her loyalty to her husband and her desire to maintain the dignity of the imperial family, making her a beloved yet complex figure in French society. Empress Eugénie, as poised and reserved as she was principled, grew increasingly resentful of Virginia's influence over the court, particularly over Napoleon himself. Determined to limit her rival's impact, Eugénie subtly orchestrated gatherings and events from which Virginia was excluded, hoping to diminish her presence. The Empress's discreet but strategic moves were well known to court insiders, who observed as Virginia, initially oblivious, began noticing the shift. It wasn't long before whispers circulated that Eugénie's influence had encouraged Napoleon to keep his distance, sparking an undeniable rivalry that many saw as both a moral and social conflict of values between the two women. Complicating matters further was Virginia's position as the emperor's mistress. Beyond this tense rivalry, Virginia became famous at court not only for her allure, but also for her keen sense of style. She enchanted courtiers with her dramatic entrances and immaculate costumes at parties, establishing herself as a fashion icon. At one lavish ball hosted by Napoleon, Virginia took full advantage of the occasion to make a legendary sartorial statement, solidifying her reputation and influence at court. At the lavish ball, Virginia didn't just walk in with Napoleon by her side. She arrived dressed as the Queen of Hearts, a choice that sent a pointed message to Empress Eugénie. The costume's bold design, with hearts covering a sheer fabric and no corset beneath, left little to the imagination, making it clear who held Napoleon's affections. Prim, proper, and ever dutiful, Eugénie couldn't hide her disdain as Virginia made her dramatic entrance, fully aware of the Countess's provocative intentions. Virginia, however, was far from being a woman's woman. She openly avoided the company of other women, often refusing even to speak or dine with them at gatherings. Instead, she would hold court at the center of the room, basking in the admiration of men who treated her like a living idol. While undeniably beautiful, her charm didn't endear her to everyone. Her personal memoirs reveal a self-regard that bordered on arrogance, with lines like, "The Eternal Father did not know what he was creating the day he sent her into the world," showing an almost insufferable sense of self-importance. Despite her notorious behavior, Virginia's closeness to Napoleon III introduced her to some of Europe's most influential figures, including the legendary German statesman Otto von Bismarck. Alongside her romance with the Emperor, Virginia pursued another passion: photography. Unlike today's casual selfies, her self-image became a high art form. She partnered with photographer Pierre-Louis Pierson to create a vast collection of portraits, amassing over 700 century selfies as they're remembered today, and cementing her legacy as a trailblazer in self-portraiture. Virginia, quote, photography was revolutionary, not only for its content but for the daring techniques she explored. She often experimented with unusual angles, dramatic lighting, and intricate compositions, all of which gave her portraits a distinct, haunting quality. Some of her most notable works featured theatrical costumes, intense close-ups, and surrealistic elements that were unheard of in 19th century portraiture. Her decision to pose in unconventional, even provocative ways, like exposing her bare feet or positioning her body in unexpected poses, challenged the era's strict norms. These artistic choices not only shocked viewers but also sparked discussions about femininity, identity, and self-expression. In doing so, Virginia laid the groundwork for future generations of avant-garde artists, making her a true pioneer in both photography and societal change. The Countess wasn't shy about pushing boundaries in her photographs, and some of her most shocking pictures were also her most unusual. Famously, she posed to reveal her bare feet and legs, a display considered shockingly improper by the standards of 19th century society. These poses were so risque that she had to crop her face out of the photos. For those she counted among her close friends, Virginia occasionally offered an unconventional keepsake. Throughout her life, she indulged her passion for photography by sending albums filled with countless pictures of herself to her inner circle. But Virginia was no mere self-absorbed influencer. She was deeply involved in every detail of her photo shoots, acting essentially as her own creative director. Her meticulousness was well known. She would adjust the camera with painstaking precision until she achieved the look she wanted. She was also an early pioneer of retouching, using hand-painting techniques to enhance her images, a luxury in the photographic world of her time. Whenever a photograph didn't flatter her quite enough, she would soften unflattering angles through hand-painted touches, ensuring she always appeared in her best light. Looking back, it's easy to see that sending a young woman into hostile territory with the expectation to charm her way to success was far from a wise plan. It didn't take long for everything to unravel. As Virginia's influence at the court began to fade, so did her desire for the vibrant social life that once defined her. Her earlier years had been spent dazzling those around her, basking in her beauty and captivating audiences with her bold style. However, the allure of public adoration slowly lost its charm. With each passing year, she withdrew further, consumed by an obsession with her own image that bordered on isolation. Gradually, her interactions became limited to those who shared her artistic pursuits or understood her growing insecurities. Though Napoleon and the Countess might have been pleased with their affair, her husband Francesco certainly wasn't. Fueled by bitterness, he soon demanded a separation. In 1857, barely a year after the well-heeled couple's move to Paris, Count Francesco stormed back to his native Italy, leaving behind his young, impressionable wife. The one bright spot in Virginia's marriage to her rather dull husband was their son, Giorgio. She doted on him as only a wealthy mother could, pouring her own unfulfilled dreams and ambitions into the boy. And in return, Giorgio adored her. Virginia's attachment to her son went beyond the typical motherly bond. She not only spoiled him, but also made him a central figure in her art, photographing him endlessly and even using him as a stand-in for herself in some portraits. This constant attention made Giorgio one of the most photographed children of the 19th century. While Virginia's beauty and charm held a mystical appeal for many men, her allure had one undeniable flaw: her vanity. To put it bluntly, she was extremely self-absorbed. This obsession with herself often overshadowed her interactions. Instead of captivating her dance partners, she would bore them. One contemporary remarked that after a few minutes, her charms began to wear thin. Ultimately, her affair with Napoleon III was short-lived. By 1860, it had ended, and Virginia had fallen from favor at court. She never reconciled with her husband, but this didn't concern her much at the time. Although she briefly returned to Italy after her royal affair soured, Virginia couldn't stay away from France, which she still held dear. After her tumultuous affair with Napoleon III came to an end, Virginia faced a period of isolation and emotional hardship. No longer the center of attention at court, she found herself grappling with feelings of insignificance and struggled to adjust to a quieter life away from the palace's opulence. Yet, rather than fading into obscurity, Virginia turned to photography with renewed intensity, channeling her emotions into the art form that would become her legacy. Her portraits from this period reveal a deeper, more introspective side to the Countess, with compositions that conveyed her complex blend of vulnerability and resilience. In many ways, this phase marked her transformation from a court beauty to a true pioneer in photographic self-expression, allowing her to maintain a lasting influence in artistic circles. In 1861, she returned to Italy permanently, but not without stirring up even more trouble along the way. After ending things with Napoleon III, the Countess hardly slowed down. She continued entertaining a long list of high-profile suitors throughout her life, and she wasn't one to settle for less. Rumor has it that Marquis Richard Seymour Conway once offered her a staggering 1 million francs for just 12 hours of her company. Although her marriage had virtually dissolved by this point, the Countess of Castiglione ultimately accomplished the mission she had set out to achieve. In 1861, Italy unified into an official kingdom, a milestone made possible in no small part by the Countess's relentless efforts. By 1871, the Countess found herself in turbulent times. France had just suffered a crushing defeat in the Franco-Prussian War, and German forces threatened to occupy Paris, casting a shadow over her luxurious lifestyle. However, Virginia showed her true mettle when circumstances were bleakest. Despite her past as a royal mistress, she retained influence in European political circles. When Germany considered occupying France, her old friend Otto von Bismarck reached out directly, arranging a discreet meeting to seek her counsel on the matter. Her blunt advice? That's not a good idea. Surprisingly, he took her suggestion to heart and reconsidered. Although Virginia amassed an impressive collection of over 700 photographs, she never held a public exhibition of her work during her lifetime. She had grand plans for a showcase at the turn of the century, but tragically, this dream remained unrealized. The Countess didn't age gracefully, and her insecurities grew increasingly obsessive. Unable to bear the sight of her fading beauty, she spent her final years in rooms draped in black, with the blinds drawn and mirrors removed, avoiding even her own reflection. Despite her self-imposed isolation, she continued occasional photo sessions, but the tone of these later works was distinctly eerie. Critics have observed the morbid nature of her later portraits, which include images of her in a coffin or posing with the body of her beloved, departed terrier. In her later years, she rarely ventured outside, viewing it as humiliating to let anyone see her slightly wrinkled face. When she did go out, it was only at night, shrouded in dark veils to hide any sign of aging. It's possible, however, that a darker reason lay behind her increasingly reclusive behavior. In 1879, little Giorgio tragically died of smallpox, and suddenly the Countess's strict routine of darkened rooms, black mourning veils, and isolation made a heartbreaking sense. After a life dedicated to being camera-ready, Virginia passed away on November 28, 1899, exactly 20 years after losing her son. She would never live to see the grand exposition where she had hoped to showcase her photographs. By dying in 1899, she also missed out on the 20th century, an era in which photography would grow to dominate media and society. Despite her sometimes sharp and difficult personality, the Countess retained a devoted following long after her death. Poet and dandy Robert de Montesquieu was captivated by her in life, and his obsession only deepened after she passed. Over time, he collected more than 400 of her photographs, an incredible archive that now resides in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. During her separation from the Count of Castiglione, her estranged husband took their feud to new heights. In a cruel attempt to hurt her, he sought custody of their son Giorgio, arguing that her lavish lifestyle made her an unfit mother. The Countess's response was fierce and unwavering. She would not let Francesco take her beloved son without a fight. Instead, she sent her ex a gift in the mail. When he opened it, he found what looked like an innocent portrait of the Countess, elegantly dressed in a luxurious gown. But as he looked closer, he was horrified. Virginia had used the portrait to send a pointed message. She was posed holding a knife, partially concealed within the folds of her dress. To leave no doubt, she titled the photograph, La Vengeance. Her tactic worked, and she was granted custody of Giorgio for the rest of his life. Many scholars argue that the Countess of Castiglione wasn't only the first model of her time, but also the first supermodel. Her photos weren't simply about fashion, but about the presence and personality of the woman wearing them, placing her in the same iconic league as Cindy Crawford or Naomi Campbell. Some even call her the Queen of Surrealism, as her creative photo shoots foreshadowed the surrealist aesthetic that would take over the art world after her time. Virginia's influence reached far beyond her lifetime, inspiring the surrealist art movement that would take shape decades after her death. Her photographs, often steeped in mysterious and dreamlike qualities, anticipated the surrealist fascination with blending reality and fantasy. Her intentional control over her image and her use of elaborate costumes positioned her as one of history's first supermodels, much like the iconic figures of Cindy Crawford and Naomi Campbell. Furthermore, Virginia's theatrical style and self-assured poses foreshadowed surrealist techniques that artists like Salvador Dalí and Man Ray would later adopt. In this way, she bridged the world of 19th century aristocratic beauty and modern artistic exploration, becoming an enduring symbol of self-expression and avant-garde art. In one particularly self-referential photograph, she peers at the viewer through a camera, drawing attention to the idea of being both the observer and the observed. Just add an inspirational quote about following your dreams, and you'd think she was born in 1998. Virginia Oldoini, the Countess of Castiglione, may have passed away over a century ago, but her legacy continues to fascinate and inspire. Her daring photos, complex personality, and determination to live life on her terms make her a figure who was truly ahead of her time. If you enjoyed uncovering the secrets behind her life and impact, don't forget to like this video. Subscribe for more deep dives into history's most fascinating lives, and let us know in the comments what you think of the Countess's extraordinary journey. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.